Hey everybody, Faith here. I am finally able to find the time to make a video for you guys. I wanted to talk about paleo. Right now I am laid up with my ankle sprain that you guys know all about, so I won't get into that. But I do really want to start a conversation about paleo as far as the diet and what it has been for me. Disclaimer, I am not an expert on paleo. I have no idea. I'm not a nutritionist. I don't know exactly what it means to the human body and all the effects that it can have. I have done a little bit of research that makes me confident enough to take it on. And so I just want to talk about my experience, talk about what I know, what I felt, and what it means for me. So just to get started, I decided to go paleo because my husband kind of manages a chronic pain condition a lot with lifestyle. So like diet, specific exercises, and so just being in a marriage and a partnership with somebody, it made a lot of sense to get myself on a similar regimen as far as a clean eating situation. Also, paleo is very strict but also simple. It's literally a list of you don't eat this but you can eat this, and for me, being very flippant and very kind of, I don't know, I eat what I want when I want to eat it, hence I'm in this situation. So it's good for me to have a very clear line between this is what we do and this is what we don't do to help me stay on the straight and narrow. So paleo has made perfect sense to me. It was never a question of is it healthy, is it dangerous? Clearly it's based off of some really basic human situations. So the whole concept, paleo, is actually short for Paleolithic, and it's talking about that era of our history in the world, what humans had access to as far as what they ate. And so that kind of contributes to how our bodies evolved to handle food and how to process food actually internally. So you hear the caveman diet, you hear the hunter-gatherer diet. There's a lot of different little terms for it, but essentially it is an all natural vegetables and meats. What could you gather? What could you hunt? And none of this artificial stuff as far as corn syrups and added sugars, and everything that goes into preservation of food, all kinds of processing, basically eliminates everything that's delicious about America. So it makes perfect sense to me for something to do. It's a clean solution. My husband and I are now able to shop together, make food together. We were very separate. We just kind of fended for ourselves. And it's become a really good thing for our relationship to share that time and to learn these new things together and to learn recipes together. So our basic and most used, as you can see, reference is this book. This is Paleo in 28 by Kenzie Swanhart. She also has a blog called Cave Woman in the City, and I believe it's, cavegirlinthecity.com. Should have looked at the book first. But yeah, so this book is like our salvation. So it gives you this basic rundown of what paleo is and what it means, which is exactly what I'm sharing with you is what I learned from this book. And then it's full of just tons of recipes that let you know, like, this is the food that you should avoid and the reasons why. And then things like sweet potato fries, which when you're losing junk food, it's really important to come up with substitutions for things that you would eat, 17 times a day, like French fries. So yeah, it just gets you kind of all the information that you need really to get started. It also includes the 28 actually represents her giving you kind of a fixed diet. She gives you a shopping list and then she gives you recipes to follow. So for, I think it starts 2, 3, 4 weeks, you can literally just go to the store, buy what she tells you to buy, and then make the recipes as instructed. And then that plans out your meals. So it's just a good place to start to kick you off. So you don't have to figure out too much. You don't have to wrap your brain around this concept. And then she kind of sets you up for success to let you know, like, hey, you've done your program, you've gotten yourself used to paleo, so now you can kind of start to feel your way around it and feel what compromises might work for you and what changes you might want to make to the recipes or to the diet in general. So that's something I like about paleo. It's very simple and straightforward, but you can also kind of work within it to find your happy place, because it's a tough diet, guys. I've given up pizza, I've given up ice cream, I've given up Chipotle. There's no junk food, there's no frozen Stouffer's lasagna, like it's just everything's gone. It's literally just fresh vegetables cooked or whatever, and meats, which I love meats, and for some reason on paleo you can eat bacon, which is not something that people consider when they go on a diet. So I still have my bacon, guys, and I'm gonna make it. So that's kind of a basic rundown why I chose it. Essentially what it is, obviously do more research. I'm not here to educate anybody and say that this is the diet for you. I'm here to share my experience, and share my decisions. That's the whole purpose of this blog. So far on paleo, it got off to a transitional start. I had some couscous in the house. I still had some rice. And it is a no carb diet, essentially, like very little carbs except what you would find naturally in some of the foods that you're going to eat. So I didn't want to just throw everything away. It seemed too wasteful. So I did finish off some rice and some things that I had still in the house around the first week. But any additional food that I bought or gathered was paleo specific. So I was just getting fresh meats and vegetables and eating that with my rice. And so kind of got through that. My other struggle has been coffee. So as you all know, I am a barista. I work in a coffee shop, and I am a strong coffee with cream and sugar kind of girl. So now I'm being challenged to eliminate dairy from my diet completely. Saying that it's just something that our bodies weren't meant to process, and it has so many reasons why people struggle with dairy in their lives, with lactose in their diet. Just this concept that it wasn't something our bodies were, evolved to handle. Dairy's going away. The idea of giving up creamer in my coffee was a little tough. And so I'm testing out different things, and I've settled down to just coffee with cane sugar. Cane sugar opens up a can of worms because paleo has a lot of little gray areas. One of those gray areas is natural sugars. So you're eliminating corn syrup, you're eliminating white sugar, any kind of processed sugar. So this idea of sugar in the raw brands, or cane sugar, generally in my heart, because I want it, it's justifiable because, you can find sugar cane, naturally. It's a plant, it's derived. And then if it's not processed by anything or bleached or anything like that, it's really not altered too much in any way. So I've kind of let this concession fall. So strict paleo says no cane sugar. Things like stevia from the stevia plant as a sweetener is allowed. Molasses, maple syrup, I can't remember what else. There's so many things. There's, coconut sugar is technically not paleo. Agave is technically not paleo. So it gets a little tricky, and you really get to that point that Kenzie talks about in her book that says you've got to make it work for your life. And so for me to kind of keep my sanity and wean myself off of cream in my coffee, I'm going to keep cane sugar. And this also allows me to have a couple of things that I can have as snacks. Snacks become a little bit of a challenge. You think that you can just eat raw vegetables all day. You can't. It drives you bonkers. You're eating vegetables for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So to have that as your snack gets a little bit stressful. So some snacks, you can find these all natural jerkies. You can find just nuts. You're allowed to have nuts, which is fantastic. And then one thing that also keeps me able to do this diet without my ice cream and my chocolate cake and whatever else is that I can have dark chocolate. It needs to be as organic as possible, contain the most organic ingredients possible, and be, I think, 70% or higher to kind of be allowed on paleo. So my only real sweet is cane sugar in my coffee, and then I have this dark chocolate that I've discovered. Actually, I have it with me here. So this is Green and Black's pure dark chocolate, so 70%, it's the bare minimum. But some of the other chocolates that I found, I really like Lindt chocolates. However, they have soy and then a lot of added sugar to them. And this one has a lot less, so it's mostly vanilla bean, which is sweet. And then just a little bit of sugar. Again, it's those natural sugars. So this guy is expensive, and it's really funny because they look like hotel soap bars. Isn't that hilarious? Oh, but they're so good. So it's things like that you kind of find that you compromise on, that you want to be as strict as you can. But cane sugar is something I'm just going to allow. We found a really great jerky. It's Duke's brand, all natural jerky, and the only thing in the ingredients list that we couldn't have was cane sugar. And so, as being one of our consensus items, we're just kind of allowing cane sugar just to keep ourselves a little bit reasonable. But if you think about it, I'm giving up so much. It's crazy, guys, to walk through the grocery store and just see products. It's not even food, it's products, it's flavored chemicals. So many things that are part of the regular American diet are just so processed and so fake and so preserved, for obvious reasons. I mean, 5 minutes ago, I was eating all of that. So it's not a judgment call. It's more just realizing, having your eyes open kind of by changing the way you look at food and changing the way that you kind of presume its purpose. Because as Americans, I mean, food is just, it's indulgence. It's about treat yourself. And you did something good, so you deserve something bad. You are going through a hard time, so you deserve something bad. You are generally okay, so just go ahead and eat that ice cream because everything's great. So it's really interesting, and it's a big eye-opener to look at food in a completely different light and actually see how many things I was eating, and how many things just the average person is eating that are just really full of chemical compounds and just this processed stuff. One of the rules about paleo is that it says if you can't pronounce an ingredient like immediately, then you can't eat it. So you could kind of learn, maltodextrin. I can say maltodextrin, so I can have that hot dog, right? No, not quite. But that's a really good guideline to go by if you're going to try paleo. It's just eliminate, all these things you can't pronounce, all these concepts of chemicals and preservatives. So the challenges are obvious. The challenges are, how do we plan, whole week out? Because we have to cook. Guys, we have to cook because it's not preserved and it's not processed. So every meal is prepared to some degree, and that takes a lot of time. So it can get a little overwhelming, it can get a little discouraging, because I'm not one of those girls who's like, people, boys and girls, love to cook and love to create and love to learn, this important skill and do all this stuff. I'm not one of those. I'm not one of those people. Convenience is key. So this is a very inconvenient diet, and you have to make a lot of trips to the store, and it's expensive to buy fresh foods. The unfortunate reality of our society right now is that eating better is actually more expensive, and can really contribute to how many people don't eat better just simply because they can't afford it. That was definitely my past, my upbringing, was that we ate carbs because carbs fill you up and they're cheap. So I completely understand where everybody's coming from as far as that goes. But yeah, so it's learning to cook, it's learning to prepare, plan ahead. We are adjusting our budget. We're going to have to afford this. This is for our health. This is for our future. And so it's worth it, in the end, to invest in something like that more than having just kind of free money to float around. So yeah, so it's challenging because you're just constantly confronted with the things that you can't have that you used to have, and you know how good they are. But you just learn to value the difference. So there's a lot of warnings about paleo, not warnings, but people kind of give you a heads up and say you're going to be lethargic, you're going to get headaches, you're probably going to process it almost like a withdrawal. Once you stop taking in all that extra sugar and all those carbs, your body actually has to change the way that it functions. If you primarily operate on carbs, then your body learns to burn those, and that's where it gets its energy. Everybody knows this. But when you go paleo, you're getting all of your energy from fats. It can be your stored fats or the fats that you're taking in from the food, the nutrients that you're taking in from your food. So that being the case, your body actually has to go through this adjustment period. It's almost like quitting coffee. Like when your body stops depending on the caffeine that you constantly give it, you go through this withdrawal process. And your body starts to derive its energy from other sources. Very similar thing. So I didn't experience any really terrible symptoms, maybe because I was so transitional and I was still taking in a few carbs while I started to consume more fresh foods. But I didn't have any huge drawbacks. I didn't feel exhausted. I didn't get any headaches from it. So that was nice. But potentially, I guess if you do it cold turkey, you're going to experience some of that. So everything's kind of been great. I think, a few weeks into the whole thing, I started to feel more energetic. I started to feel lighter. It definitely benefited me. I mean, I'm going through this huge change, you guys, and so tons of this transition has to do with my whole life. It has to do with my work life, it has to do with my personal life, it has to do with my food life. And then obviously I'm trying to lose weight and become a healthier person. So all of that kind of mixed in together, there's a big mental switch that flipped, and that's been very beneficial for me to just have a very straight and narrow focus. So I'm saying that because all of my results thus far could have a lot to do with that mental change and that kind of determination, as much as it has to do with the actual physical changes of what I'm doing. So I may have just changed my attitude and stopped being depressed about having to do things, and just started doing them, and then felt like I had more energy and more stamina. But I definitely feel that the diet has made a huge difference just in how I feel. I don't get that bloated over full. Like, even if I throw down on some vegetables and some red meat, I don't walk away from that meal feeling like, oh, I need to go to sleep, or I kind of almost just want to throw it up because I ate too much. I've done that. I did that with biscuits, KFC biscuits, on my honeymoon. I made myself sick. So that isn't a situation that you find yourself in anymore. You don't get that just, oh, I feel so full and so gross right now. Which I, for one, appreciate, because when you're already overweight, feeling that much heavier and feeling that sluggish kind of, oh, I just ate a deep dish cheese pizza, those feelings kind of aren't there anymore. You start to experience that happy feeling that you get when you've eaten like just enough. I know everybody gets it. I know you get it. You start to experience that more, so it just feels better, guys. It feels better overall to just consume natural foods, and kind of get rid of those preservatives. It's not good for your feelings. It's hard to make the transition. I do feel deprived at times. I got away without cravings for a while, but as soon as I started to settle into a routine with this diet, I definitely started noticing the pastries that are at work. I started noticing the things in the store, and having these thoughts of like, oh, well, if my husband wasn't here, I would totally sneak that and nobody would know, those kind of cravings that you justify. And it's been interesting to fight that for the first time in my life, because I'm here because I never fought it. I never fought the urge to indulge. I just felt like, if this is what I want, that's what I get to have, and what's wrong with that? There's all these justifications for just poor choices, so it's been a learning experience for sure, to change the way that I think about food. It has so much to do with that reward system that I mentioned before, where if you do something really good, this whole concept of like, okay, I've dropped almost 10 pounds. I've gained energy. I have less pain in my feet, not right now, obviously, but I generally have less pain in my feet, which was a huge issue for me. And in life, I just have, more energy and more interest and more enthusiasm for everything. So I can take all of those results and say, oh, I'm doing so good, so I deserve a treat. You know what I mean? Like, we do that all the time. Why do we do that? Same goes with, when I hurt my ankle and I was in so much pain, initially when it happened, and I was by myself and just feeling, like crap. And I'm like, you know what? All I need right now is just ice cream to just drown these sorrows, to drown this pain. I want to just grab a pizza because I literally cannot stand up and make dinner. What am I going to do? I don't have any choice. I have to, I have to give in. It's insane to me. You start to recognize those patterns in your life, and you start to recognize those patterns in other people, which is actually really beneficial to be on the outside of it and looking at other people making those decisions, and not in any way to judge them, but just to realize, like, that's how I used to think, and that's how I used to react to the situation. It's very eye-opening, and kind of encouraging to see yourself change in those decisions. So yeah, I would love to say that as soon as I started the diet, I saw weight coming off, like that. Just wasn't the case for me. I started paleo, I started to feel better overall, but until I started hitting the gym and actually burning extra calories and getting my heart pumping, I did not see any weight loss. So that was a little bit disappointing. I didn't expect anything miraculous. You always want it to be miraculous, but it just didn't work out that way for me. I had to put in that physical effort, which is something I knew was coming. So it was disappointing, not surprising, that the diet wasn't enough. It feels like you're cutting out so much. But my body was just like, okay, well, you didn't eat that muffin. It doesn't mean you lost 2 pounds because you didn't eat the muffin. You know what I'm saying? If only. So yeah, so it's been a journey. I've noticed a lot of changes in the way that my body processes food, and my digestion is a lot smoother, if that makes sense. Like, you don't feel indigestion. You don't get that heartburn. You don't get just that discomfort, from eating something that's just so, whatever. And it's interesting because we add a lot of spice to our foods, a lot of seasonings. Most seasonings are paleo considered. They're all plant derived. So it's not that we're eating bland, flavored things. It's just that they're all natural, as natural as you can get in our country right now, without actually going out and picking them from the ground and shooting them with your bow and arrow. So yeah, paleo has been a good change in my life. It's been good for my relationship. It's been good for my health. It's been good for my self-discipline, to really practice it and hold strong to it. And it has just enough, it gives me the cane sugar is something I'm keeping for myself. It gives me dark chocolate. It gives me bacon. It gives me steak, you guys. I can eat red meat like all day. You shouldn't. You really shouldn't. But I could on the paleo diet. So it doesn't eliminate, everything that's good in life. It just eliminates a lot of things that are artificially delicious, if that makes sense. So paleo has been great for me. I would recommend it for, anybody looking to make a change, or maybe who's like me and just has a hard time. I didn't want to count calories. I didn't want to do a program. I didn't want to do like Weight Watchers or Nutrisystem or anything like that. I mean, talk about expensive. Those things can cost you. I really just wanted to find something that was just good for me, that didn't have a bunch of empty promises. It never promoted itself and said, hey, you're going to lose a bunch of weight, or hey, you're going to, just go through this magical transformation. It's just like, hey, I think this is what our bodies are supposed to process, and that's kind of what our bodies have evolved to do. So it makes sense that we would eat this and not that. And generally, we're probably going to feel better after the fact. But it's not a fad. Well, I guess it's kind of a fad diet, but it's not a for weight loss diet, which I liked about it. I liked that it was more rounded. I don't take any of this as to just be, I just need to lose weight. I just need to be thinner. I just need to be prettier. Not my journey. That's not my fight. My fight is for a better life, for a better quality of life. And that in me makes me a healthier, happier person. And that's going to help everybody around me be happier and healthier, to have someone in their life who is a positive force. So it's a really big picture for me. It's not this small kind of, I just need to lose weight. So paleo has been, just makes sense. It just makes sense for me. It's been a great choice. I don't regret it. It's definitely been challenging at times, and it's going to continue to be challenging, but it's been completely worth it. So those are my tidbits on paleo. If you guys have done the paleo diet, feel free to share, especially if you know more than I do. Throw in some information, whether it be fact checking, because like I said, I'm not an expert on this. You can fact check me in the comments. Give me any kind of suggestions that you've done, that you've tried, or just kind of any insight or any questions. Hopefully I can answer for you. So thanks guys for watching. Sorry the video is so long, but I hope you enjoyed it, and continue to check out Valencia blog and let me know what you guys are thinking. Thanks so much, and have an awesome day, you guys.